Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Fife Properties show this morning. And today we are going to be talking, Andrea, about summer renovations and looking at some project inspiration for the perfect season to upgrade your home, and that is summer. So, I mean, there really is no better season for improving your home than the summer, I feel. Do you know there's the long summer evenings? We've got nearly 17 hours of daylight. There's so much time to get things done before it gets dark, and that means you could really enjoy the fruits of your labour and a lot sooner than waiting in the other months. So, yeah, well executed renovations, I think, for enhancing your indoor comfort and elevating your outdoor style can transform your whole living experience, increase your home's energy efficiency, and it could really boost the value of your home potentially by many thousands. What's your thoughts on that, Andrea? I know you're quite DIY enthusiast and like to get stuck in about doing things in the home.
Yeah, I am very much a DIY enthusiast.
Yeah.
And at the moment, I'm all DIY'd out and I'm having a break.
I know you've been doing up your mother's home and you...
Yeah. Well, obviously, there's 5 elements that we can be looking at today. One of those would be adding extra space.
Yep.
The other, polishing your curb appeal.
Yep.
Upgrading your outdoor spaces, which kind of goes in with the curb appeal as well.
It does, yeah.
Raining over your roof, that's an interesting one, and making indoor improvements. So all of these 5 elements can go to making your house, suitable for putting to market, but also making it as good as you possibly can for living in and enjoying in and bringing, having your friends round.
They're all good topics that we're going to cover today. And I think that the adding extra space and everything's really good, and we're going to kick off with that in a second. But you were talking about your outdoor areas, and I've been doing a lot of work in my garden at the moment. And I know that you, when you moved into your house that you're in, done a lot of work to the garden. And you used to have a really big garden before that as well.
We did.
Yeah. We sold your last place, and the garden was beautiful. But it must have been a lot of upkeep and things as well. So, do you know, there's a balance to getting it to a certain point and having that upkeep and things as well. But outside space and garden space and things is a big plus point. A lot of the time when people are looking for property, especially family homes and people that have got pets, and there's a multitude of things. But yeah, today, so whether you're raring to go with your paintbrush already in hand, painting's not my thing. But anyway, or planning for the future and looking for ideas, your summer renovations start here, and we're going to give you as much information as we can today to help you on the way. So you said about adding extra space, Andrea.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, yeah, on you go.
Yeah, so increasing the size of your home, you can mold it to your challenging lifestyle. And your changing lifestyle, and having to move and help you trade up bigger and better when you want to sell, with extra value that you can create by adding to the property what you've got just now. Top projects, adding a dormer to the loft. That is one of the simple ones.
This is where you could really add value.
Yeah. So a dormer, for people that don't know what a dormer is, I think most people will, but basically you just put a full height window extension out through the existing roof to create full head height, and what a difference it can make. It's amazing the size of room you can actually get from just pushing it out just that little bit out of the roof.
Just going to say, you say full head height, because the dormer you could actually walk to the window. And
yeah. And some of them have the added advantage of a Juliet balcony. So, a little set of railings just outside the window, the doors open inwards, and you can, it's especially if you've got a view, standing there. Yeah, it's one of the best things that you can do if you've got a good view, is to be able to maximise it with that type of window. Yeah. You could put a full balcony out, but then that's going to cost a lot more money for maybe not that much more gain in what you can do with the area. You also there's a window manufacturer can do like a fake balcony. So it opens up, and as it opens up and out, it pushes down, and it's got the
Oh, I've
built-in
seen the,
railings, and you can walk out into it a few feet.
that's a really innovative way of
Yeah,
creating more space. Yeah, it's great.
yeah.
I can't remember what's the actual name of them.
Well, there is a company called Velux that do them, but there are
Yeah.
other window manufacturers available that do
Yeah.
similar
I
type.
mean, I was meaning like the kind of the model, the system and the model name. If anybody knows that,
Right.
that would be really good.
Yeah.
These are the windows that open right out, and then the railings come up, and you could actually
Yeah.
walk out so
Yeah.
far onto it. If anybody knows that, they could jump in and let us know in the comments. That would be really great. You could also, I mean, going up the way in dormers and capitalising on that extra space and obviously views and things as well. You could also internally look at knocking through walls to make existing rooms larger. I've seen this done a lot where people create a bigger lounge diner area, or or kitchen diner area, knocking through the wall in between a kitchen and a living room, or even a living room and a dining room, or even all three, and doing that big L-shaped lounge kitchen diner. That flow through open plan living is really popular now as well, and opening your home up even then further still into the garden with doors and I've just put I've put decking and pergola and things attached to my house and on the back, because it just flows right through from my kitchen and out, and it's amazing. It's like I've just like added so much space to the actual living because it's covered over. And the summer and things like this, it's just amazing. So you could even incorporate the garage. A lot of, I've seen people do that, and because a lot of people don't use the garage for their car anymore.
No.
Usually just storage, but they can be a great additional room or an extension of a room if you're able to knock through. Or indeed, you could potentially add another floor in your property as well. So they're all ways to really add value and add that additional space.
You can also go down the way. Some properties have still got basement areas that are really not utilised to the full. So, I mean, you could be quite innovative with them and create a cinema room, especially because it'll be the lack of windows. Studio, guest suite, or even a utility zone. So if you've got a cellar that's not being used, there's loads of ideas out there. I think there's quite a few online places that you can look up for different design ideas and what you can do with small rooms. And I think we had a small room blog as well at one point. I'll try and find it and put the link into the thing.
If you could put it into the chat, that would be great.
Yeah, I will do.
Sometimes we'll touch on subjects through our blog things, and we've done previous blogs and shows, so which go into certain aspects a lot more detail than obviously I totally digressed today. So that's good. So and then like you say, if that extra space is not being used, utility space, a lot of people who have maybe a parent or things moving in with them to have that extra, like the wee granny annex or like an extra ensuite bedroom to house them. There's lots of things that can be done. So all of these improvements are ideas for the summer when the weather is really warmer, instead of the winter when the chill pouring through the flimsy plastic sheets while you crank up the heat to counter out the cold. It's a lot easier to do it in these warmer months where the daylight is so much longer, as I said at the beginning. It's a prime time to start looking at that.
Yeah, I would also add in there, if this is something that you're planning to do, think quite a bit ahead, because the summer doesn't last long. The good weather here doesn't last that long, and so all your tradespeople are going to be. That's when they're going to be at their busiest. They also take trades holidays in the summer, so they might say, "Oh, that's fine, we can do it," but the first that we can come to the beginning of February, and you do not want to have walls down and windows out in February.
I know all too well with contractors and things, and you probably will do as well, Andrea, that, I mean, don't wait till you get to the summer or the time that you want to do something and then start contacting people. Do it ahead of time and say, look, even if it's like autumn into winter time, say, look, I'm planning to do something in the spring, summertime, and get them booked in and committed to starting on a date, because you'll sometimes find they're booked up well in advance. They've got really heavy schedules, and you might think, right, let's get this started in the summer, but then you start looking at it at the end of May, the beginning of June, and it's like, sorry, we've got availability for 3-4 months even. So be careful of that. That's quite a good point.
The other timeline point that you would probably be best mentioning at this point is that if you're doing structural work to your property, you do need permission from your local authority to do that. And sometimes that can take up to 6 months to get actual consent.
As well. And a lot of people, and I've seen it happen a lot over the years, just do things and don't bother. And when you come to sell your property, it will set you back on the back foot, because if you've not got the right permissions for things that have been altered or put in place, then that could hinder a sale and hold things back as well. So if you've got a whole timeline planned for, like, okay, I'm going to put the property in the market, I'm hoping to get sold for this time, because then I'm going to move into another property, and then it comes to your solicitor reviewing the titles and all the rest of it, that could throw a spanner in the works.
You may even be told, no, you can't do that, and you have to return it back to how it was.
Yeah, take it all out, or rectify
just like what happened with Major Tom's house. They did things without permission, and they've had to pull it all down and put it back to how it was. Yeah. So it does happen.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's all about obviously adding extra space and extra value. A lot of good tips there. So we also talked about polishing your curb appeal and the exterior of your property. And I think renovating the outside of your home, it really is essential to protect its value that it already has and increase its saleability if you're looking to put it on the market. And even if you don't feel the benefit right now, it's still always nice to come back to an inviting front of house exterior. Many buyers will shy away from exterior works. So if they're coming up to a property and they see maybe cracked rendering or boss rendering, weathered doors and flaky paintwork, and things that, I mean, it just gives them that fear of hidden problems and extra costs beneath the surface. So it's wise to make that move and tackle these jobs. And do you know what? It's amazing what a lick of paint or varnish on a door, or touch up your, I've just done this as well, touch up your gutters. If the gutters are totally fine, but they're flaking paint and things, it makes them look in bad shape. A lick of paint and things could make all the difference. And if it's something a wee bit more like cracked rendering or boss rendering and things, get somebody in to fix it. I mean, it might just be a few £100s to patch that up and make it look seamless again, but it could really help you resolve the problem of having somebody appear at your property and be put off by the facade straight away before they're even through the door. So yeah, really polish your curb appeal and how your property looks at the approach. What other ways can we do that?
Well, I mean, the things like broken fences, you want to try and, I think this is just general maintenance if you're a homeowner. Don't let everything get to a stage where it looks really, really bad before you decide to do something about it. But if you have done that and you've got to catch up and play catch up, then you're talking about possibly replacing a fence. It might be that the posts have rotted and things. Yeah. So there's lots of different alternatives that you can go with now for fencing. I was just looking at the, like the polycarbonate decking and fencing panels. I was looking at those yesterday.
Like the composite ones.
Yeah.
They are expensive, but they're really good.
Yeah, but they're not going to need ongoing maintenance.
That's where the added value is, because they've not got the upkeep yet.
And they're going to last a lot longer than timbers. So I think if you are looking to replace, that's something that is worth, it might be slightly more expensive to start with, but in the long run, you're going to save yourself money down the line and time. And that time you can then use to do other things, like enjoy yourself.
Not be running about trying to do things and being really time. You're absolutely right. I think what a good point you made there about it's just the general upkeep. And I know, people maybe struggle to find the time to do all the general day-to-day maybe or week-to-week upkeep, but and now's a really good time to make sure your property's airtight and things for the winter. I mean, even if you're not selling maybe this year, but you are thinking of selling in the future, start to do all these preparations and keep on top of paintwork and things as well, and make sure your property is weather tight for the bad weather coming through. Because if it's not, and then it gets battered by another winter, it's going to be even worse next year, and it's going to be an even bigger job to try and resolve before you put it on the market.
Yeah, I mean, going back to what you were saying about rendering and embossed render, I mean, that usually happens because there's been a little crack and it's not been attended to when it's first noticed. The water gets in the heavy rain, and then we get the frost coming along, and it expands that water that's underneath, and it lifts the render away from the brick or the subcourse that it's put onto. So it's really important, if you see a crack, deal with it as soon as you can. I researched that quite recently because obviously the house that we're trying to sell for my mum at the moment, it's a 57-year-old house and there's cracks in the render, and although you know the surveyors say that's fine, there's no bossing, we have now had them filled. So nobody can.
Was that relatively cost effective, or just because they were still small, or do you know, was it?
They were still fairly small, yeah. But you know, one viewer had pointed out that, if you excuse the pun, that there was cracks there, and we'd need to get another surveyor in to check them.
And that's where the doubt in their mind starts.
Yeah. So it's simple enough to fill. You can buy ready-made stuff for filling cracks that is both waterproof and weatherproof and does the job.
And like you say, a very small crack like that, but do you know, we get a really heavy winter, it's wet, the water gets in behind, we get hit with the low temperatures, it freezes up, expands, and by the time next year comes around, that could be a lot worse and a lot more expensive to repair. So that's a great example.
I mean, what you can do if you are selling property that's got quite a few cracks on it, and you're leaving that property and you think it's going to be quite expensive to get this redone, we might not make that back on the sale. What you can do is just a lot of plasterers actually do rendering as well. Go to get a few quotes for how much it's going to cost to fix, and have those quotes ready to show your prospective buyers, and just say this is what it will cost on top of what the valuation of the property already is. So
because then I suppose if they are seeing these things and having a doubt about this is going to be really expensive, or what, you can say, look, I've had people look at it as this is what it's going to cost. You could factor that into your budget. Definitely.
I'm just seeing here that replacing old wooden windows with new like-for-like models, this is probably mainly in conservation areas. Again, you will need to get permission to change windows within a conservation area. Even if they look exactly the same, you still have to have that permission. And again, you could be waiting 6 months or more for that. So that's something you've got to pre-plan for. One of the things that I've noticed people doing with their UPVC windows is they are getting them painted.
I was just going,
or coated in something. That grey.
I was just going to say they've got the white UPVC and they're having this grey. Again, I'm not entirely sure. It's obviously not just normal paint. Please don't just go and buy paint to B&Q and paint your UPVC windows. There is a correct paint for doing it. I'm unsure if you guys know it or watch, and jump in the comments and let us know. But I've seen that, and it actually looks really good.
It does, but then
I would like to research that if I was going to do it myself. To make
I would have thought the whole point of having UPVC windows is that they're then maintenance free, apart from a wee white clean. You start painting it, the paint's going to have to be maintained. So I think it defeats purpose.
It's probably a more aesthetic thing. Obviously, the greys, all the shades of greys and things are really on trend just now. In terms of internal decor and external, so
at least 50 of them.
I mean, I've seen a lot of people doing that, and it does look good. But will it stand the test of time? Is that going to then have to be painted again in a year or two, or is there an ongoing maintenance for that? Because, like you say,
there is. It's just like having painted windows again. They will bubble. Your windows are directly in the sun. The paint will probably fade. It might yellow to a certain extent. It will bubble. It will dry out. It will crack. They need to be maintained.
I've do you know that the rear of my house is kind of like southeasterly, and it gets the sun and it gets the rain, and then it gets the sun and it gets the rain. I mean, I've got UPVC windows, but the door at the back is actually a timber door replaced with the glass panel. And there's an upkeep element to that because it gets the rain and the sun, so it's, the weather impact on it's quite a lot. So yeah, you need to think about that.
Yeah. So
I think ideally though, if like you say, unless you're in a conservation area and you're doing like with sash and case and things, or you want to just obviously save a few pennies and upgrade your existing timber frame windows, that's fine. But probably injecting a wee bit more like the modern sleek look and things, you'd probably be better to then upgrade to double glazing or even triple glazing units, and you get really high energy efficiency ones as well now, which is quite a good thing, because if you're going to have your home report done and your EPC, your Energy Performance Certificate, it's going to bump that EPC rating up, which is so important to people now because it'll save you money, and people are obviously a lot more cost effective conscious, and saving a few pennies on their utility bills and keeping things, keeping your home warm and comfortable through the winter months as well.
Yeah. We had triple glazing in our previous house. We put that in, mainly because there was a special offer on it, and we had a lot of windows, and they said, listen, we're doing these for as cheap as you could do double glazed units. And we thought, we're on a main road, that'll be great, it'll help keep some of the sound out from the main road, which was fine.
Yeah, because you were on the main,
yeah, we really did notice a benefit in the heat conservation in the winter. And they did help keep the worst of the heat out in the summer, because they had a special sort of filter within it.
Right, okay.
Yeah. What I would say now is we were lucky then that there wasn't the regulation that all double or triple glazing units have to have little filters in them, little vents.
The trickle vents.
Yeah. So as soon as you put a trickle vent into a triple glazing or double glazed unit, you will let sound in.
Yeah, I was just going to say. So
it kind of defeats the purpose, but they do still have their benefits.
So I was going to say, because a lot of times, obviously, if I'm doing like refurbs and things on buy-to-lets and lettings and things, it's always double glazing I deal with. So obviously, price points like that and things is obviously familiar to me. But triple glazing is something I've never explored, so I'm not quite sure how that compares price-wise. But you're saying that they gave you an offer that was more or less the same as double glazing.
Yeah, it was at that time. I mean, that was quite a few years ago now. It may be, shop around.
Yeah, and I think especially, like you say, if you're on a main road and you've got that noise pollution and things that could maybe hinder a sale, you could then, if you've got the triple glazing, you could even then demonstrate to the viewers when they're inside the room or the property that you don't hear the road, because roads and road noise can put viewers off.
Yeah, a lot of people do still like to have their house ventilated though, so you will, while your windows are open, you're going to get noise. I don't think you'll ever shut it out completely. I would say we lived in our house for a week, and after a week we didn't really notice the noise. Didn't bother us at all.
You get used to noises when you live somewhere, and I think it's probably more for a road. If it's a busy road, you're more maybe like the times of when you're going to be sleeping and things that you don't want disturbed with cars and things. So the windows then would be shut, unless it's really warm outside. But I mean, do we have that many days of the year where we have to sleep?
No, I was going to say, I think we've had that 2 days, but
yeah, I know. What about restoring old windows? You did say about obviously restoring maybe.
Again, if it could be a labour of love, you can do them yourself. You can sash and case windows actually all come apart, and you can take them fully out of the window opening. You would have to put some kind of temporary closure on there if you're doing it yourself, because you're never going to do it in a day. But there are places that still do. You can dip and strip. You have to be careful though, because that will also dip and strip the glue that's holding everything together. So it's quite a specialist thing. It is possible to do it yourself, but you can, and if your cords and weights and things in your sash and case windows are needing totally replaced, you can buy those online, and just refit them.
Yes, listening to you say that, it's like that's something I would shy away from. I mean, I am quite like I would do DIY things and things, but that I would be like, no, get somebody specialist to do that. Whereas you would probably tackle that, Andrea, wouldn't you?
I wouldn't do a whole house. I would maybe do one, but
No, but I wouldn't even do one. I wouldn't even attempt to blow muck up. But yeah, there is ways and means of doing that. But yeah, I think if you are still really trying to decide whether to restore what you've got, or have replicas made, like you said, or have that more contemporary shake up and do double, triple glazing or whatever. I mean, feel free. I mean, our contact details are in this blog, so feel free to contact us. And we'll help you try and give you some insider tips or advice, or the right people to talk to for people who are looking to sell or buy in Fife. And that's obviously just something that we do, and that we're happy to give you advice as much as we can, or I say, like, one to the right people.
Yeah.
Let's move. What was the next thing we were saying?
Well, we're going to move outdoors now. We're going back outside. So upgrading the outdoor areas. Now, we've already talked about general maintenance things, but this is more about what we can do to create more sort of living space outside. So there's no season is more synonymous with spending time outdoors than summer, which makes it the ideal season to focus on enhancing the garden, a terrace or a balcony with upgrades. So you could create an open air living room, which is more or less what you've just talked about with your own property. Invest in premium garden furniture, the really nice stuff. You can add in a fire pit, or you can get the infrared heating. That's actually quite cheap to run. I was surprised by how cheap it was to run.
Yeah, you get these units in B&Q and things like that.
Patio heater things. And you can even get outdoor kitchens for a serious upgrade.
I don't think I would go that far, but there's some amazing outdoor spaces that can be created. And I think what's great as well, I think when you've got that, like we've just done the pergola type thing, that attached to the house and comes right out, and it's quite big, but it's totally created an outside space. And what's the benefit of that is, because our summers, although it's still mild or warm enough, we still get the rain. So then you could still sit. I mean, we've been sitting out while it's been raining, because we've got the table at one end and the couch and things. And then, do you know what's even an added value as well? You could hang your washing on a screen out on the while it's raining. It's great. It's brilliant. You really do. You add all that extra onto the property. It's brilliant, and it's really taking your outdoor space to a whole new level, with a dose of like the garden designs and things as well. You could do a raised planter. Just kind of telling everybody what I've just done. You could have a raised planter that runs along one side, and it's amazing what you could do outside. And think about these raised planting areas, or you could have these like railway sleepers is quite on trend just now. I think it's really good. And intentionally planting and in and around these, and it just really adds that great indoor outdoor living space. I think it's just really good.
I keep thinking I would like to do some raised beds, because I don't like bending. My knees are not that great for getting up and down from weeding around, but our beds are kept quite small, and they're slightly raised from where the grass is. That's what we're looking to replace, possibly with the composite, because they've got a retaining wooden edge on them, which is beginning to not look so good, and they've got to be painted every year. So that's why we've been looking at the composite stuff to replace that with, and maybe build them up slightly higher than they were before. I don't know, maybe something to think about. Patios as well. Lots of flower pots on patios. You can count as a raised bed. You can get old chimney pots, the actual, and use them as planters, so they're at a good height as well, like a raised bed. You can, if you've got a railing around your decking, you can hang boxes over them with flowers in them. You get the hooks that hang over them.
If you're doing pots and things on the deck or on the patio, I think it's like the numbers is 3 and 5. I think it's like rather than 2 and 4, or the power.
I think we've got about 49 and 51.
Really, really. My mother's a big fan of pots and planters and things everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it really creates that really nice feel, and it's like you say, you've got that. It's a lot easier maintained and things as well.
Yeah, we have AstroTurf on our back lawn, and it's been there. We bought the house with it. It's not something that we have done, and you know, there's a lot of these eco people will say that that's one of the worst things to have for the environment. But really, when you think about it, it doesn't need cut. So you're not putting petrol in a lawnmower. You're not using electricity in a lawnmower. You know, it's very, very easy to maintain.
Look at it that way.
Yeah. So, and it drains very, very well because it's made with little holes in it to drain down. So they're not going to cause additional flooding like block paved areas might if you've not done it correctly. So yeah, no, we're very happy with our AstroTurf, and it doesn't get too hot in this country to sit on, or for a dog's paws or animal's paws, because we don't get the intense heat here that you might get in Florida.
Yeah.
So next we were talking about
what about driveways?
Yeah, the driveways. Block paving again is great for your driveways because it's not going to break up as quickly as, say, a tarmac driveway.
Yeah.
So if you were, extending an existing driveway, block paving is the way to go. You do get porous type, which you can put down without planning consent.
Yeah.
If you're using the non-porous type, you will need planning consent for changing your driveway to something like that. Yeah. It's all to do with the runoff from rain and local flooding and everything.
The driveway on any property is always a big plus point for any buyers who are coming to look at the property. I think I always say to people when I get viewers, and whether it's sales, whether it's lettings, or one of the main things that's always coming in to the conversation is storage, parking, and the outside space, as well as obviously your normal things like people look for at the kitchen and the bathroom and all those fundamental things. But the things that they look for is good storage, somebody to park the car, and somebody to enjoy outside space. So the driveway is right up there. If you've got it, make the most of it, make it look as best as it can. If it needs to be relaid, maybe with chips or paving, or like you say, this porous, for the drainage and things. Because I've seen a lot of driveways that have got the stones and they've not been put down right, and then it's a big puddle in the middle. It doesn't go away.
or they put them on their driveway when it slopes down to the road, and as soon as you get the heavy rain, all the stones are out in the road.
Yeah. So again, it's a bit like anything. Make sure that it's done properly, or you have the right people doing it, or if you'd want to do it yourself, learn the right way to do it. And if you've got the proper drainage and everything, like you say, it'll dry out properly and faster when the sunshine comes out. And we all know too well here in Scotland and Fife, obviously on the west coast, the east coast, sorry, the west coast will get worse than us. That rain does happen, and when it happens, it comes down quite hard. So, of course, working outdoors has another advantage. It's a great way of picking up that obviously that sunshine, and even maybe a tan, and burning off some calories while you do it. So yeah, just remember, put your sunscreen on, because I done that. I was sat in the garden just for a few hours, and you forget because you think over here it's fine, and I did burn my head and things. You probably see a wee bit.
Even if it's overcast, there's still the UV.
Yeah, I think people just forget about that. So so you said about raining over our roofs. What do you mean by raining over our roofs? We don't mean literally like the rain.
No, not that type of rain. There's no escaping the weather, and as well as protecting your home from the elements, you can harness them to shrink your bills, which is always good. Summer provides the perfect conditions for jobs like getting solar panels put in. They're easier to install in the summer and provide instant savings with longer days and more sunshine, helping you recoup your investment sooner.
I see solar panels popping up quite a lot on properties and things as well. I think a lot of people have got mixed feelings about solar panels. A lot of people think they're really great. Obviously, they reduce your utility bills and things as well. Other people have a wee bit, obviously, of a different approach to it. They don't think that they're as energy efficient or as beneficial as they're made out to be. And I think a lot of we've come across this in the past where people have them installed through these Help to Buy schemes.
The government schemes.
Yep. But then when you sell your property, you need to realise that commitment to pay these off through, whether it's through your utility bill or whatever the agreement is, goes with the property to the new buyer. And when that was all happening a few years back, I remember we had a few sales that got to that point, and it was like, oh, hold on a minute, this is going to go with it, and it put the people off. And I'm sure a lot of agents have experienced that because it was unknown at the time, but that's actually how it works, and it doesn't go with the person. The bill stays with the premises and the property.
Yeah, I do remember one case where the person we had to sort of postpone the sale of the property until he was in a position to be able to pay off what the loan was.
What was left on it,
to put it in, and then we got the property back and it was sold. But I think that, I mean, there may be different tariff types that can be set up when you get your solar panels put in. But I think in that instance, the person who had them installed continues to get the tariff benefit.
The benefit from the
forever.
Right.
So I don't
really see. So that goes
if
we pay that off, if they're feeding that extra back into
it goes to them and not to the house. So it may be different now. It's something I think should be fully researched before you intend to put things in, and don't just jump straight into something.
Solar panels could be really beneficial, but make sure you do your research and speak to the right people. And definitely.
I mean, all new houses are getting built with them now, so it may be different for if it's been the builder that's put them in.
If it's been part of the initial build, then you're not going to have additional costs to pay that off. No. Isn't it? It's where they're installed to a property that's obviously
it's the sum that gets put back, the additional bit that gets put back to the national grid that you get paid for. I think that's the bit that stays, whereas the person that stays with the person who arranged for it to be put in. But the other benefits that come with having the solar panels, like heating your water and
that obviously stays
that stays with the property. But again, I'd say research it fully before making a commitment.
I feel like if I was buying a house that had solar panels, I think I would want both benefits. Do you know, I would want to have the obviously the benefit to alleviate my initial bills, but then if you were sending back energy into the grid, you would want the benefit from that as well. So you would want the full benefit of the solar panels, and so that's something to look into as well, definitely.
So while you're up on your roof, you're guttering your downpipes, obviously they need to be maintained. I know. I came back in yesterday and I was looking at all the bird dirt that had amazingly appeared on one of the windows at the front of the house. And while I was looking at it, thinking I need to get the window cleaning kit out, I thought, oh, no, look at that gutter. There's about a foot tall plant growing out of one of the gutters up on the second floor. So the ladder will be coming out this afternoon and we'll get that sorted out. But again, these things, you don't want to leave these things, because if you've got a gutter that's got stuff growing in it, then that means that water will be overspilling onto an area of your property that could then cause ingress of water and damp related issues. So you want to avoid that.
I think unsightly gutters and downpipes that are flaky paint and everything, it's not a good look. It all goes in with curb appeal. I did bring it up in curb appeal as well, but also it really is for a safeguarding things for future problems that you're going to have. I know all too well from property management and lettings and things that overgrown gutters or leaking gutters and downpipes can cause a lot of internal damage if left unattended, or the upkeep of them has not been obviously as frequent as it should be.
And I mean, it is more difficult on properties, such like your older tenement style buildings. And it's not just one owner for the whole building, trying to get everybody together to get proper maintenance done on the higher bits that's going to need scaffolding booked in, people that know what they're doing, proper contractors, to remove some of the trees that are growing out of buildings.
I've seen some amazing trees growing out of roofs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there have been instances where the trees have grown to such an extent it's actually pushed part of the building off and created injury. And, you know, then the whole bit of the road has to get cordoned off, and the council then has to come in and get involved, and enforcement notices to get the work done. Yeah, it's much better if you can, you know, keep on top of things before they get to an extent where that would happen.
Yeah.
I think my wee plant is not at that stage yet. It'll be out this afternoon.
Yeah, well, you'll catch it before it gets that bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely. And you could also, if you've got gutters and downpipes and things running, you could even connect them up to collect the rainwater and use it for watering your garden and things as well. I see a lot of people doing that, and it's quite a good use of reusing the rainwater rather than having it running from the tap to get your plants water and things as well. So always thinking about energy efficiency and the environment and things as well, I suppose. Upgrading, like sealing insulation and replacing or repairing or replacing your roof. I mean, it would make it much faster when contractors don't have to keep laying out waterproof tarpaulins and things as well.
Yeah.
Have you tackled all the roof repairs in
my have actually in my old house?
I didn't want to sound cheery, but I know that you've done a few house moves and renovations and things.
And I'm ancient. Yes, I did actually. But the last property that we had a big outbuilding attached to it, and it was like a function hall, and it had a porch at the front, and it was very damp in there, and I actually stripped down the little porch that came out. I stripped down all the one side of the roof where the damp was, and it was the valley gutter that was, you know, and all the sarking and everything. I took it right down and redid it all and re-put the slates back on, because I could. You know, I'm not an expert at it, but, you know, you get some great YouTube videos, and, you know, and if you're having workmen in your house, you know, watch them, pick up tips and learn. You know, don't ever make anybody think that you can't tackle something. I would never tackle gas, ever. Never, ever touch gas. But anything else, I'll try.
Yeah. Definitely, and a lot of people enjoy doing it and things, but just make sure that you are quite clued up on what you're doing. And I think with especially things like gas, leave that to the professionals, obviously.
But and if you're going up a ladder at any height, always make sure you've told someone you're doing it, and you've got your mobile phone in your pocket. So if if your ladder falls, you can still phone someone. And have someone if it's very high. Yeah, have someone at the bottom of the ladder.
But make sure they're paying attention.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of good YouTube videos where that does not work out.
Anyway, so there's more to your roof than just keeping out the rain, and there's no better time to maximise its eco-friendly potential than when the weather is dry and warm. I mean, our house, you know, this is where loft insulation comes into it, because not only does it keep your heat in your house from escaping during the winter, it stops your heat coming down into the house too much and making it unbearable to live in. Our houses in this country are not really designed in the way, and we don't have our air conditioning systems and things here, so that's why it's best to have it insulated.
And you're absolutely right about this time of year where it's dry for the most part. Because in the wetter months and things, you won't get roofers and things and contractors that will go up on the roof. I hear this quite a lot when we've got storms and bad weather, and obviously we look after a lot of tenants and things as well. And I know when there's a storm coming, we're going to get a multitude of phone calls, which is fine. And we obviously need people to phone us and to register that there's been issues or damage or whatever. But the expectation is to have somebody out to fix it straight away. But we can't do that until the weather clears and the roof's dry or whatever the problem might be, because it's dangerous for the contractor or anybody to go and attend to that. now is the time to weatherproof and make sure your and things are all in good working order.
One thing that I would say about, especially with roofs, because it's just actually happened to a neighbour of mine, watch out for people just doorstepping you and saying, "Oh, we're in the area and we've got a bit of tar left for, you want your driveway done," or, you know, "We're in the area and we've just done a roof round the corner, we'll get the moss off it for you and we'll seal it. Oh, your ridge tiles are needing." Don't go for it. Don't fall for it.
I think especially with roof and roofing contractors and things, you don't know what the roof looks like. You can't go up on the roof, maybe. I mean, it's not so you could be told anything. You could be, and you know, you need to really have a trustworthy contractor. But anything really, I suppose. But roofs especially, I've seen over the years that a lot of people have been misled, and it's been quite a costly mistake for them, and it's a shame. But it does happen. So be very vigilant. And again, if you are in Fife and you want to speak about contractors and things, you could always reach out to us and get some good advice.
Trusted contractors always go for more than one quote. And if somebody comes to your door and you think, "Oh, that's a good idea," you weren't thinking about it before. Only do something when you're actually thinking about it.
On your terms.
On your terms,
Definitely. No, really good advice there, Andrea. So let's finish up today talking about making some indoor improvements, and as well as making these outdoor areas and jobs a lot easier. The summer is the perfect season to carry out a number of indoor improvements and get them done quicker. So what kinds of things on the inside of your property, Andrea, would you say?
Well, during the summer, obviously, you're going to be using your outdoor kitchen that you've just done. And that gives you the chance to replace your kitchen in the inside. You know, I'm joking there about your outdoor kitchen. Some people might have them, but most people will have a barbecue. And if you don't have a barbecue that you can cook on, or the weather's not as good, and you've not got a kitchen because you're replacing it, the trusty old microwave can be set up in another room. And, you know, there's a million ways you can cook a baked potato to have it. We did that when we got our kitchen replaced.
A lot of people have air fryers now as well.
Yeah. I've just bought a new one. So we're experimenting with it. It's amazing what you can cook in them. But, you know, they're not the same as like having the old chip pan that you needed the cooker to put on. You know, there's so many things that you can just utilize in a small corner of another room to have as your food prep area and cooking.
But like you say, and if you've got this outside area that's covered over, and it's the nice summer nights and the summer months, then if you've been thinking about doing a kitchen install or a kitchen upgrade, then you could move your stuff out into this. You could have barbecues, like you say, you could use your microwave, air fryer, and enjoy outside for a few days or a week or whatever the install or upgrade time takes to your kitchen. It's a perfect time to do that. There's nothing worse than trying to do things like this in the colder, wet months. It's definitely a good point. I think also, and if you're going to be starting doing like painting, you know, walls, woodwork, replastering, even pouring concrete floors, in these months where it's drier, it will dry out quicker with the natural warm ventilation, much more than over the damp and cold winter months. So doing those redecoration or like you say, like I said, the concrete and things, they will all dry and set a lot quicker than they would the colder months.
Of course, concrete has a minimum temperature at which you can actually put it down in. I think it's something like 10 degrees or something. So that has to be factored into when you're going to get your builders or if you're doing it yourself, so that you don't get any complications with it either not drying out or having frost damage. So when you've not got your heating on, you know, for those few months, you can actually strip out radiators and that are maybe needing replaced.
That's a good point.
That's
a really good point, because obviously we'll go through the next few months. I mean, I think I did stick it on a couple of weeks ago, just quickly, but then, you know, for the most part, for the summer months, you're not running your heating as such. So it's a great opportunity to drain down the system, take the radiators out and have them replaced.
Yeah.
While you're not having to rely on them for that heat through the colder months. So that's really good.
And even if you're not going to replace them, just for a maintenance thing, running through that cleaning fluid, get that run through the whole of your heating system. You can get your radiators painted if they're the type that you put paint on. But you can also just sort of do a quick check with them, make sure that get your boiler serviced as well, because when the weather turns colder, your heating engineers are all going to be absolutely up to their eyeballs with work. So get your boiler checked in the summer.
I know, because as soon as we leave August and head into September, October is when we get so much calls from people whose boilers, they've turned their heating back on, and then obviously it starts to go. So have it serviced and have it checked before the cold months come in, or run it through, like you said, beforehand, just to make sure everything's fine. Because there'll be nothing worse when it starts to get cold and you try to use it and it doesn't work. And then obviously you want to have that functioning heating system, especially if you are really looking to have everything up and running and ready for possibly your sale of your property. Also, you could take that opportunity to upgrade your boiler system. Either put a more energy efficient system in. It could be the heat source pump that the government obviously are producing grants and things for now. They can be quite expensive. So
I'm not totally convinced about air source heat
it's a kind of Marmite thing, because a lot of people, I've seen people put them in and swear by them, and other people not so much. So it's a kind of either all for them or not really.
I think the way to go is really the hydrogen route.
Right,
and there are, in fact, there's an area in Fife that was looking, was it not around Buckhaven somewhere? They were looking for volunteers to have their heating paid for a year, but to trial the hydrogen heating systems.
It's the only scheme like that rolled out in, I think, the whole world. It's the first one with the hydrogen, and it's in Buckhaven. Buckhaven has got, I think there's a whole street of them.
Yeah, there was another good one that I saw recently, and it was like a community heating system, which is very good for in towns, and you've maybe got sort of blocks of properties, but basically there's all the pipes are run by the city, and they provide constant hot water all the time to all the properties. And it was actually, is it like in Norway and Sweden? It was actually designed by someone from Glasgow.
Oh, really?
It was a Scottish innovator.
Some of the biggest and best inventions across the world and over time have come out of Scotland and in the UK as well. So, but there's a lot of different schemes and things in terms of looking at the better ways of energy efficient heating and providing energy to homes and things. So there's a lot of things you could explore, but I think with so much time spent outside, summer's such a great time to complete these projects with the least disruption to your life. More than that, they'll be ready for you to enjoy over the autumn and the winter months where the chill arrives, and have your property in good standing order for potentially putting on the market, and will make it more appealing to buyers as well. So what's your final thoughts for today then, Andrea?
Well, my final thoughts are, again, you mentioned storage earlier. When people are looking for houses on storage. What do you do with your nice garden furniture and the cushions during the winter? Where do you store it?
Was in my shed.
Right. Yeah, we've tried putting stuff in the shed before, and it ended up with mildew and everything. So we have to bring it inside now and just store it in a spare space in a room.
Right. I have got quite a good. I've got quite a weather-tight shed, which is quite good, and we've just repainted it again and made sure the roof felt and things was okay. So they're generally okay.
I would just say
Although,
if you're going to have lots of nice things for using in the summer in your garden, you need to think about where you're going to store them in the winter.
yeah,
So it may mean that you need to purchase a small shed to keep them in. Yeah.
Yeah, storage inside and outside is always quite a big thing for people. But yeah, definitely. Thanks. You've had some really great insights today, Andrea, and I knew talking about this subject for you would be quite good. I know it's right up your street. So
oh yeah.
Yeah, and there's nothing that we love more than helping people boost their home's value, and whether you're planning to sell or not. I mean, these are all great tips, and we're happy to share them, and always happy to touch base with anybody that has any questions about anything we've spoken about today. Feel free to do that. As I say, our contact details are in the blog that's attached to this post, and of course you could jump in the comments about anything we've spoke about today, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. And that's for today, Andrea. Thanks very much for that. That's really good.
Thank you.
I hope everybody enjoyed that's been watching, and you'll catch us on the rerun. We'll have the podcast and things as well, and you could also click into the actual blog itself and have a wee read of that, which is attached to this post. And I'll leave it there for today. Everybody have a great weekend. And you too, Andrea. Thanks very much, and I'll see you later.
Thank you.